Rhonda.
So I have 4 staff reports. And the first one is with regards to Decorum and City Code of Ethics. And there was included in your packet a really brief staff report. And I also sent an email on this topic to the task force a few weeks ago after the last meeting on January 26th. But this is just to remind the task force of the City of Richmond's Code of Ethics, which is included in the handbook. The City Council approved City of Richmond Boards and Commission Handbook. It's Appendix D. And so I don't necessarily need to read it, but I'm going to just highlight a few things that I just want to remind this task force that are in there, and that when you agree to be part of the task force, you're agreeing to this code of ethics as well, that we all should be professional, courteous, and respectful. We shall serve with honesty and with integrity. We shall recognize and honor the diversity of our community and our workplace. We should be adaptable, accountable, and capable of embracing change. We shall be fair, objective, and responsive in our interactions with the public, residents, employees, board members, commissioners, and council members. We shall maintain positive relationships, cultivating an environment of collegiality and trust. And so I bring this up as a reminder to the task force, but partially also because there was a comment made at the last meeting that staff does regret not speaking up at that meeting, but we definitely wanted to make sure it was known that we did not feel that that comment that was made from one task force member to another task force member at that moment was in keeping with our City of Richmond Code of Ethics. So also I wanted to point out that in the handbook, there is a section regarding relationships with board members. And so that also is a reminder about how we all should act towards one another. And so really, it is my encouragement to all of you that we really are thoughtful about the words that we use and how we are in this space, and to make sure that the work that the task force was called to do can be done efficiently and effectively. Thank you. All right, should I go on to staff report number 2?
Unless anyone has any questions or comments about that report. Don Gosney.
Thank you. It's disheartening to show up month after month to meetings, be they task force or city council meetings, and be treated with vulgarities, disrespect, bullying, harassment, and simply being mean-spirited. I'm sure that I don't need to remind anyone here that we are not here as members of the community. We're here as representatives of the city council, the City of Richmond, and of our neighbors. Treating anyone as I've been treated on the task force is simply unacceptable. Some of you have written in the chat telling me to shut up and saying that no one wants to hear what I have to say. I've been cursed at council meetings and here, without using the specific words. The message is being told to the council and the world that I'm lying when I speak. And at the last meeting, it was said that I was disruptive to the community conversation the week before, when people of color were forced to see the face of a white man on the screen, my face. We were told that it was a triggering mechanism for trauma to people of color to see my face staring at them on their screens. Of course, I wasn't staring at anyone. I was staring at the presentation on the monitor, as was everyone else. And that comment was not made for one task force member to another. It was made to everyone and on the record. As a member of the media, I requested that I be allowed to record the meetings as I might share it that night with others and report on what went on at our meetings. The state constitution allows this, and city staff has always graciously assisted with this. I never asked that my face be shown on the screen, and if I'd been asked to cut my video, I would have done so without question. Had I been asked to cut my video because the requester didn't like having to look at the face of a white man, though, I'm not sure I would have embraced that rationale, but still would have cut the feed. Let's switch the words around. Let's say that someone went on record to claim that having to see the face of a person of color on the screen was just upsetting. Would any of you accept that? I certainly wouldn't. I know you wouldn't, because it's blatant racism and it's highly offending. So why was it okay to be said last month? At no time during that meeting did anyone step forward, no task force member or staff member, to object and say that this was wrong. What's the saying out on the street? Silence is compliance. Much has been made at these meetings as well as at council meetings that my voice should not be heard because I never served on any of the subgroups or the implementation subcommittee. In early December of 2020, I requested in public and on video to be on each of the subgroups. At the next meeting, it was discussed to allow task force members who were not on a subgroup to sit in, but one of you vehemently said that that would not be allowed. I was never placed on any subgroups. That was staff's doing, not mine. The first I learned that the subgroups had met was when they gave reports at subsequent task force meetings. Had the subgroups, if we had any known date and time to meet, I would have made an effort to attend and participate. But these were all held in secret. We've never seen an agenda for these meetings, minutes from these meetings, or videos of these meetings. What's strange about this is I have the recordings of 2 of you from December 2020 pushing for full transparency. And I quote from one of those meetings. And so, quote, and so if I'm in a subgroup, I want the agenda to be posted. I want the meeting to be publicly known to the community. I would like for there to be an opportunity for public comment and all of those things. Otherwise, we are participating in the same bureau that the community didn't want in the first place. I don't want to be an observer. I don't feel like showing up to a meeting to just listen to people talking about what should go on in my community as an observer is right or righteous, unquote. How are we supposed to accomplish anything with this task force if we treat each other as I've been treated? And it wasn't just me that has been bullied and harassed. Staff has been bullied and harassed too. Just rewatch the meeting from last March when a few of you bullied staff into silence. And sometimes staff has been the culprit. It may not have been intentional, but there have been multiple occurrences when I've been shut down and silenced by staff. The task force is doing little to bring the community of the people of our community together. It's seen as a divisive mechanism. If you see nothing wrong with this, then be prepared for the escalation of divisiveness. If you want to bring the people together though, then perhaps now is the time to reevaluate how we treat each other. Allow differences of opinion to be voiced and have open discussions about the issues. Thank you.
Madam Chair, is there a time for this? Because
Hold on, Armand, Joey is next, and then you can speak. Joey.
Thank you, Deborah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So first of all, I wanted to publicly apologize to Don Gosney for not speaking up at last meeting. I was shocked and dismayed. As Don said, had the roles been reversed, I can't even imagine that would have been tolerated for not 1 second. We've all been appointed on this committee, on this task force by our respective council people. We should be treated with respect regardless of what our opinions are. I think having differing opinions is healthy for a healthy conversation. We can agree, disagree, but at the end of the day, we need to treat each other with respect and as adults. And if you can't do that, then you should probably.
Armand, you're next.
actually Andres was next. I was just asking.
Oh, I didn't see Andres's hand. Andres, I am sorry, that background is confusing.
Because, if there's no time, I think people will continue to babble, but that was just my quick comment.
No, it's okay. I mean, I want to be respectful of everyone. This is a space for the task force. We only meet once a month. So I want people to be able to feel heard. So Andres, I'm sorry, you were next.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I think the items outlined by in the staff report and as articulated in the handbook are sufficient, and I personally have always tried to adhere to that. I think people can have disagreements and throw political elbows in ways that are not perceived necessarily as personal attacks, but sometimes people get offended by things, and other people don't see it the same way. And so I think this is a lesson to be learned from, and if everybody agrees to adhere to the rules of conduct, then we should move forward. And I also, I know Don had to get a lot off his chest, but he also consumed a lot of the clock, and we're on the clock here. So in the interest of brevity, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Andres. And Armand, I'm sorry, your hand is still up. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so I'm glad we're on this discussion of ethics, and because I won't speak in ambiguities, Don, I think please don't take offense to this, with the understanding that sometimes the truth can be offensive. I think from the inception of the task force, you've tried to tarnish and lie and try to dig up things in regards to the task force. It's just not true. I think you've and keep in mind, I think healthy inquiry of the programs and what's going on with the task force is fair, but I would think it went beyond healthy. And if I can be quite honest, in your inference of reverse racism isn't a thing, so let's not use that talking point. And so yeah, so I encourage everybody, as we're talking about ethics, is to be fair, respectable in regards to the whole task force. When we speak up, in community meetings or even, at the city council meetings, let's speak in truth and let's not try to tarnish and lie on the task force work. And our objective is to work together to achieve our goals, not trying to work against it. And so I will leave that there.
Thank you, Armand. I see 3 more hands. I want to give 5 more minutes for this conversation, and then I think we should move on. That would be at 6:15. So Linda, I see you, BK,
Right.
and then Laura.
Right, thank you. I just wanted to verbally, publicly apologize, Don. I sent a letter to the staff because I too didn't appreciate the comments that were made concerning you. And so I want you to know that. I want the task force to understand that also. But I don't think this is the time for us to be criticizing or reprimanding somebody on this task force. We have one goal, and this is for us to respect each other, but not to criticize or to degrade somebody, which we're doing. Armand did it. I think if we should stop now, comment on what we're talking about, and not about what you feel someone has done at a meeting or whatever. That's not what we're talking about right now. Thank you.
BK.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was trying to recall the meeting from last month, and I have to say that I find it interesting that as far as I recall, the conversation started when someone said people of color feel a certain way, and I think that there should be some recognition for how the people of color may have felt or how they said that they felt. If someone tells you I'm uncomfortable by something, I don't think you can reject it and say that it's, you can't do that. I think you have to, especially if it's a person of color. We're dealing with reimagining public safety. And I think reimagining how people of color feel is really important in this conversation. So I just don't want to forget that, because I remember that part of the conversation when someone was simply talking about how they felt and how people of color felt about something that had happened. So I want to just uplift that statement, because it's real. If they say it's real, then you have to accept it as being real. Thank you.
Thank you, BK. Laura.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief, but especially in a public forum, I just feel like it cannot stand, and Armand beat me to it, but I just want to say that reverse racism is not a thing. To believe so leaves out a crucial understanding of how racism works. It operates with power structures that uphold and perpetuate racism. So therefore, it is not possible to experience racism as a white person. And I think it's important to say that, since we're speaking about speaking in truth. I just want to state clearly that I think that that's important for the record. And I just want to, reflect on BK's comments. It seems like we're giving a lot of attention to the feelings of white people that were hurt in this situation, but we haven't really spent much time talking about the people of color who were mentioned at the start of this disagreement. So I just want to second that because that struck me as true as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Tamisha and Ben, and then we're gonna move on. So Tamisha, you're next.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'll be quick. I want to, one, thank the staff for doing a report on this item. I want to say I wish we would have did this last year when a Black formerly incarcerated woman who was appointed to this body as a native Richmonder doing hard work in the community for disenfranchised folks and Black folks and people of color would have gotten the same defense. I wish this would have happened then. And as we say, silence is violence. I also wish non-Black, non-people of color on this task force would have also stood up for this Black woman and gave me a public apology or some recognition for all of the trauma that I suffered last year being attacked in the media by a white man about my character and my commitment to Richmond. So I agree with what Laura and Armand said, reverse racism is not a thing. Let's please not do that in this space. And if we're gonna stand up for white men and their feelings, we should also stand up for Black women and people of color when they're being attacked in this space as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Walker. It's very nice to have you with us. If there are no further comments on this topic, I would like to move to the next staff report because we were still in the middle of staff reports.